Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, everyone. We want to welcome you back to Mobile App Academy, where we show you how to build and configure mobile apps live on the Now platform. My name is Charlie Steiner, product marketer here at ServiceNow with the mobile team, and today we'll be showing you updates made to the Now mobile app in Quebec. So if you're joining us for the first time, welcome. Mobile App Academy is a live building series that focuses on managing and building out mobile apps in real time. Our product experts are here to provide guidance, best practices, and answer any of your questions in a real setting. We host Mobile App Academy every 2 weeks here at Zoom, here on Zoom at 10 a.m. Pacific, and our recordings are posted to YouTube in our YouTube playlist on Thursday mornings Pacific time as well. As always, if you're new to Mobile App Academy, we want to share a few resources that could help you out in your mobile adventure. So if we look down in the middle, we have our series of guidebooks, FAQs, getting started, trainings that will really help you get up and running, start implementing. And then down on the right in our getting started article, you have our implementation guide, our migration guide, our best practices. So do be sure to check those out if you're new to mobile. And we also have a plethora of other resources like labs and trainings for those of you who are in a more advanced stage. And our YouTube playlist will be linked in the chat shortly, so do be sure to subscribe in case you miss any of these live recordings. Every recording will be there as well. One more thing to note is if you like this session, our virtual agent, our HR, and performance analytics teams do something very similar, so be sure to check them out as well, and you can find them by navigating to the forums tab in community and going to the respective forums. All that being said, handing it over to David Ha, as always, who will get us started with today's session.
Thanks for the intro, Charlie. Hello and welcome back to another Mobile App Academy. My name is David Ha, and I'll be your host for today. And as always, I have Fu Ho with me, who's a solution architect on the mobile team here at ServiceNow. And we want to give a warm welcome to everyone joining us live here today. As for today's topic, we're going to give an update on what's new for Now Mobile as of the Quebec release. There's been just a few minor changes to the requester experience, especially on the Home tab. There's been some UI changes, and we just want to make sure that we're all on the same page on what's being updated and how you can take advantage of those updates in your own implementations. So a lot of this conversation is going to happen. We're going to talk a lot about in-app branding, and we'll dive into that in just a second. For those who are new to Now Mobile, we do have an introduction section on how to get started with your Now Mobile implementations. Things like how you can configure your approvals, change fields, add quick actions, or even configure your catalog item hierarchy. And you can check all of that out in our past sessions and recordings, as Charlie has mentioned on our mobile community site. So recommend checking those videos out if you haven't already. With all of that being said, let's go ahead and review some of the updates happening around Now Mobile from Paris, or maybe you're on an earlier version, moving on to Quebec. So what's changed? First and foremost, here's the out-of-the-box experience for Now Mobile in Paris. This is probably what you're already familiar with, right? Out of the box, the requester experience for Now Mobile will give you 3 tabs. A For Me tab, which shows you your to-dos and requests, a Services tab that allows your employees to request catalog items or services, and then an Information tab, which gives your employees access to their KB articles. So pretty much a replica of what you would expect to see on your employee service center from the platform experience, right? But as we move on into Quebec, the platform experience is slowly updating its UI and taxonomy. As you update to the Quebec versions of your employee service portals, you'll see that the For Me homepage has been renamed to My Items. Instead of My To-Dos, it's been renamed to My Task. And if you have other supporting products such as ITAM or maybe ITBM's timesheets, you'll see other applets on your home screen as well. So all of these changes that are happening on the platform side, Now Mobile has also been updated so that there's closer alignment between your desktop and mobile experiences. Beyond matching those experiences, Now Mobile's also made some improvements to their Home tab. So again, what was used to be called My Items tab, you can see that there's a sleeker landing page with new icon sections. They've introduced a default banner that appears at the top now. And another major addition with the release of AI search in Quebec with the Now platform, mobile will also support this new feature natively, if that is something that's desired. It's not switched on automatically if you have access to that feature, There is some configuration that needs to take place. But if you'd like for us to explore that configuration, please let us know in the post-session survey. To configure AI search, we would probably need a whole session to it. But if you're interested, let us know, and we can definitely walk through that, as well as the troubleshooting tips, if there's folks interested. Okay. But as you can see, most of the enhancements on Now Mobile in Quebec really takes place on your home screen for the My Items tab. You have this new banner that will show up out of the box, but depending on your current portal experience and what it looks like, you might want to change the image, right? You wouldn't want to use the default ServiceNow image. You might want to rename the title or description, or maybe even remove it altogether. So we'll go ahead and show you how to do that today. But on top of this, there may be a bunch of other in-app branding things that you'd like to tweak to better align with your current platform experience. This is usually one of the first things that a lot of our customers ask about. It's in-app branding and what are the things that you can do, what are the limitations, and we'll definitely walk through a lot of that stuff, such as the naming conventions or tab names. Maybe instead of my task, you'd actually like to revert it back to my to-dos. Or maybe there's a bunch of icons that you'd like to change, like the ones on your navigation tab, or the ones on your applet, or even maybe the one on your quick action. So we'll go ahead and show you all those things and explore what is supported today, and answer any questions that come up along the way around in-app branding. So these are the 4 quick exercises that we'll go through today. First, we'll configure the banner at the top of our home tab. I'm hesitant to call this a media section, although it does look like a media section, because we've configured media sections in our previous app academies, and there was a specific table and specific way to configure those. However, the Now Mobile team actually built their own table in order for you to modify this banner here. So I'll introduce you to that new table and how you can interact with it. Second, we'll rename a few things. Even though we're introducing new taxonomy, it doesn't mean that you have to adopt it, right? If your portal experience isn't quite ready to adopt these new terms yet, you might want to consider reverting some of these default changes, names on your applets, names on your nav tabs, things like that. And I'll show you how to do that real quick. Third is configuring icons, whether it be a quick action, an icon applet, or your navigation tab. I'll show you the docs on how you can understand what types of icons are supported today. As of today, our product docs, there are some configurations that we don't quite have yet on those docs. We're drastically improving those as we go into Rome. But I'll show you some workarounds that you can use from today's session. And then the last piece that customers typically ask about around in-app branding is mobile theming. So depending on what your portal's color schema looks like, you probably want alignment with mobile as well. So we can use the mobile theming to change your primary and secondary colors and things like that. Okay. So let's go ahead and jump into our instance and configure our first use case for today. I'm going to stop sharing, and I will share a new screen. Okay. So let's go to home. And our first use case is let's configure our default mobile banner. It's this default banner that you'll get out of the box. And to find this, we first need to search up our My Items applet launcher, right? So on our left-hand nav, let's go ahead and open up applet launchers. It's going to live under the Now Mobile app. The My Items is appearing as my home tab. So I know that this is the tab that I want. That's called homepage. And then if I click into the body of this applet launcher, you'll see that there's a UI section called static media content. This is provided to you out of the box. And this is what controls the banner, the title of that banner, as well as the description. The mobile content section actually represents the mobile campaigns feature that we released in Paris. This is something that HR customers have access to on their platform experience. And mobile's just built a native feature to be able to support that. So if you're currently an HR customer and you have access to this on the platform, you'll be able to access it on mobile as well once you install the plugin. And we have lots of good information on docs for that. But if this is something that is relevant to you and you'd like us to explore it in future sessions, we can definitely go through a configuration session. But just let us know in the post-session surveys. That way we can get a better idea um, if there's enough interest for it. Okay. But for today, let's just focus on our static media section. So if I click into this, this is actually configured leveraging the mobile campaigns table. They've just built their own version of it. So they're both built very similarly. And with this new structure, you'll actually have more control and flexibility on the things that you can do with this banner. And I'll show you that in just a second. But let's click into the item stream content and then into the item stream and then into the item configuration. And what I'm looking for is I want to see what custom table that they're using. So you can see that that this view for this banner, right, was built on the static media section table. And so I want to open up this table here, SN me static media section. And I'm going to open up this table on a different browser. And here you can see that there's this record that populates the metadata on this banner. And if I click into this record, you can see that these are the three things that you can change here. If you don't want the banner at all and just want to disable it, you can change the visibility to false, or you just delete it altogether. But if you want to keep the banner and you just want to customize it to how you'd like it, you can change the title, the image, and the text. So let's go ahead and do that real quick. It's likely that you'll want to match your portal experience with mobile. So whatever that top page banner would look like on your portal experience, that's what I would match with mobile. So let's go ahead and rename this to Employee Center. I'll update an image. I think I have an image here called Now Mobile Banner. Change that. And then we can leave the text as is and the description as is. And then we'll go and click update. Okay. And now if I refresh my mobile app, I should be able to see those changes. Okay, so now I have that new banner. So this is a slightly different configuration from media section, right? It does look like a media section, but it's not exactly. This applies only to Now Mobile in Quebec. If you're not on Quebec yet, if you're on Paris, you're still dealing with media sections and things like that. So this is something good to know. But the reason why they've built it using the mobile campaigns tables is you actually have a bit more flexibility on things you can do. So let me show you what I mean by that. If you go to the mobile campaigns docs, which I have here, you can find it under the campaigns on ServiceNow Mobile, configure the details of the appearance of your cards. If I scroll down here, there's a few parameters that I can change. There's things like the display type. You can actually have your text hover over your banner or underneath it. By default, they're having the text hover underneath. But if I wanted to move this text over the image, I actually have the ability to do that. You can change the display theme, focus on faces. So you have a few parameters here that you can control. Let's just move the text from under to over. And I'll show you how to do that real quick. If I go back into my instance, when I hopped into the item configuration, let's jump into the correct scope. There's this thing called the item view, right? If I open up this item view, and then I look into the item view JSON, these are the parameters that I can change. And you can just follow the docs on what are those things that you change. But I want the text to go from under to over. And it's telling me that the default value is over. So all I have to do is change it to under. So I'll copy this. And then I'll look for display type. And then change this in the parentheses to over or over. And then we'll go and save that. And now if I refresh my mobile app, it should move the text over. Probably not ideal. I would keep it under because I have this ServiceNow text over it. But I'm just showing you some of the things that you can do with these new parameters. Okay, so that's the new configuration experience for the banner on Now Mobile in Quebec. Okay. Next, what we want to do is possibly adjust the taxonomy on some of these new applets and tabs, right? When you upgrade to this new plugin or install this new plugin, all of a sudden you're dealing with all these new naming conventions. I'm no longer seeing to-dos or I think it got changed from to-dos to my task. What if I want to convert it back to to-dos? Maybe you're not ready to adopt the new naming conventions on the platform. So would it make sense for Now Mobile to automatically apply those changes for you? So I would first start by comparing what you have on the portal today, and then making sure that all of your naming conventions are aligned. Starting with our applets, let's actually change our My Task applet, the name, back to My To-Dos. So to do that, all I would have to do is look up our applet launcher underneath Now Mobile. Click into our home. And these applets live in the My Items UI section. So we'll click into My Items. And then this is just a vertical icon applet. And so it's showing 3 applets here. The one that I want is the first one for my task. So we'll open up this record for my task. And then if I jump into the scope, you would be able to rename it to whatever you'd like. So if I want it to show up as my to-dos, I can easily do that here. What if we want to rename the tabs? Maybe I don't like My Items. I actually want it to be renamed to Home. How would I do that? So I think there's been a few times where we've been asked, if I go to my applet launcher and then rename the homepage, they would think that this would just rename the tab. So if I show you that here, I'd rename this from homepage to something else like home. You're going to notice that nothing happens. And the reason for that is this is just the name of our applet launcher, but what we're actually trying to rename is the navigation tab. So it's not the applet launcher that we're looking for because that represents this entire screen. What we're actually looking for is the navigation bar. And we want to configure the Now Mobile navigation bar. On this navigation bar, there's a tab called My Items. So here's my navigation tab. We'll open this up. We'll jump into the correct scope. And it's the label of your navigation tab that you want to rename. So if I want this to show up as home, then I would do it here. So now if I refresh, you should see the tab being renamed to home. Okay. While we're on this page, another question that we often get is, how do I change the icons, my mobile icons? And there's 3 icons that you can change, right? You have your quick action. Since this applet launcher is using icon sections, you can change the icons of these as well. And then as well as the icon of your navigation tabs. So we'll start with the navigation tab. So I think a common question that we get all the time is, are you able to upload custom icons to use on the ServiceNow mobile apps? And unfortunately, the answer to that today is no. We're only able to support the ServiceNow library of icons that you can find on the product docs today. However, this is something that we're definitely working on improving in upcoming releases. Please keep sharing your in-app branding requirements and feedback to our mobile community idea portal. Each idea and upvote actually brings a new discussion to the table, and it helps our internal teams prioritize. So let us know on that idea portal if there's things that you want to do when it comes to in-app branding, things like custom icons and so forth. But to show you what is supported today, Let's open up our mobile icons for product docs. We'll open up a new docs here. And in the search, if I look up mobile icons, so it looks like the Rome docs are already out. I would always recommend, even if you're on a Quebec instance or a Paris instance, usually there might be new information that you might miss on a previous release. So I would just look at the latest. So I'll open up Rome. Okay, and we want the icons for navigation tabs. So on this, here we scroll down. Here's your available navigation bar icons. And these are all the icons that are supported as of today. So we're currently using this bag icon here on the home tab. But if I want to change it to the home, let me show you how to configure that. The first thing I would do is I would go to the mobile icon table. And you can find that table name on the docs here. It says, well, first, if you want to see all the existing navigation icons, if you don't want to create one yourself, you can go to this table here and then filter out by type is image. And this will give you all your out-of-the-box icons. So if I put that in the navigation, and then I change the filter to type is image, and then run. Here's all the icons that are supported on our navigation tab. I'm not seeing one for home because I do see that that is supported on navigation. So I'll just create a new one here. For name, it's whatever you want to name it. So I want it to be home, so it's obvious. Home tab. But for the icon, this is where we need to match product docs. It's telling me if I want the home, I have to set the first value as home or as name, sorry. So we're going to type in name, and then the value is going to be home. Okay. And then the type is image. Image must be used for navigation icons, and then we'll submit. But yeah, notice that there's not really any other parameters that you can change here. Oops, wrong one. We get questions like, how do you change the color of your icons? It's not necessarily changed on the icon itself, but rather with mobile theming. And we'll get to that on our last exercise. But for now, let's just change to our home tab. So we've created our icon. Now we just have to point this tab to the icon that we just built. So we'll open up our navigation tab again. For now mobile, on home. And then we'll just change this icon from bag to the home icon that we created. And then we'll update. And now if I refresh, it should change. Okay. What if I want to change the configuration experience for quick actions is pretty similar, but what's more challenging and tricky is I'll show you how to configure the icon on your icon applets. So typically, to build new applets and then to put it on your app launcher, it's much easier to do on Mobile Studio, right? When you're inside a studio, and I can demonstrate real quick. When you're inside a studio, and we'll just use like one of these scopes just so I can pull up an applet. And I'm creating a new applet. Immediately, you just pick from this slush bucket of icons and colors that you want, right? But the limitation to Now Mobile is you can't configure Now Mobile using Mobile Studio. And so you'll actually have to do it on Platform UI. If I show you one of the icons that's used for an icon applet, Let's first find the applet for my to-dos. Let's say that this is the icon that I want to change. Let's see what is currently being used. We'll search up applets. We'll search up the app launcher, open up my items, and then open up my to-dos. And then if I jump into the scope for my to-dos, there's this icon table. If I open up this record, you're gonna see all these different parameters, and the type that's being used is font. But if you check out our product docs, you can see that there's actually no information on how to fill those out. I believe the reason for that is because it was assumed that Mobile Studio should be able to do that easily for you, and you wouldn't need to know those parameters. But of course, anything that you want to configure out of the box on Now Mobile, you'll have to actually create this manually. Since we don't have the product docs for this, the workaround to do this is I would just create a blank applet inside of Studio. I would pick the icons that I want. Let's say I want like a red flag, for example. It doesn't matter what scope you're in. I'll just create a blank applet. And then we'll save this applet. I think in order to save this applet, I just have to click a data item. So we'll just pick, a random data item, doesn't matter. And then we'll save. Once I've created this applet, automatically it's saved that icon table. Studio's built that icon record for me. So now I can actually use that icon. So if I want that red flag, I would then look up applets. I would find that applet that I just created called blank template. Or was it blank applet? Blank something. Here on the list screen, if I open this up, here's the icon. It's called icon red flag. So I'm gonna copy and paste this icon and replace it with whatever icon that's currently being used here. So let's go back to applet launchers for Now Mobile. We're gonna find my to-dos. We'll jump into the correct scope and then open up the My To-Dos tab. Open record. We'll jump into the scope, and then here we'll just copy and paste that so it matches. And it looks like there's actually 4 records. So it looks like the name of it automatically just gets set to icon flag. So let's actually search up and filter. I want to see the record information. I know that it was built in the ITSM scope, so let's check out each one of these. So the second one in ITSM agents, third one, field service. So this is obviously not the one that I want because it was built in field service. How about the fourth one? Field service. Okay, so it has to be the first or second one. And once I figure out which icon it is, then I'll probably rename it so it's unique and I won't have that confusing search experience. So let's try this first one. It was built in the ITSM scope. We'll go and save this. We'll refresh. If I have a red flag, then it's the right one. And it looks like it's the right one. Okay. So this is the workaround on how you can change your icons around. It's kind of a grueling task, but this experience will get improved. Some great news that I can share is, as we move into Rome, we'll have this brand new developer tool called Mobile App Builder, and you can actually configure all your out-of-the-box things on Now Mobile inside of that tool. You can think of it like Studio, but an improved version of Studio. All the things that Mobile Studio can do in Quebec, Mobile App Builder will be able to do in Rome, but more. You can actually configure your Now Mobile experience much easier. Okay. So that's configuring mobile icons and what are the icons that are supported today and things like that. The last thing I want to show is mobile theming. I've configured these icons on my navigation tab, but I want to change the colors of these. How do I do that? That's actually controlled by our mobile theming. So if I go to our mobile theming docs, you see these are the mobile theming guidelines. You have 4 parameters here. You have brand color, primary, secondary, destructive. And if you check out the docs, it'll tell you exactly what's being changed for each of those. If I want to change my icons, I'll keep scrolling down. So it looks like number 2 is what will change our icon color. So number 2 is primary. Okay. So let's change our primary theme color here. If I go back to my instance, I'm going to look up client. And these client themes is what controls that. This default client theme is our ServiceNow default branding colors, right? The default greens. But I would suggest creating your own so that it matches your portal experience, right? So we can name this whatever we want. Let's call this company branding. Company branding. I'll just fill in some palettes here. So let's keep our header color the same. But what I want to change this icon color. So what matters most is this primary color. So we'll change that from green to purple. And then we'll leave the secondary and destructive the same. Okay. So this should keep my header as green, but this will change my navigation tab colors, icon colors to purple. So let's go ahead and submit this. And if I refresh, nothing's going to happen yet. And the reason for this is I've only created the theme. I now have to attach this theme to the client that I want. So when I look up client on the navigation, there's this thing called client native clients. If I open up Now Mobile, we want to fill in our client theme that we just created. Instead of default, we want company branding. We'll go ahead and save this. And now if I refresh, it should update. Let's go and do a hard close. Branding. Let's make sure that the hex value, let's see, hex colors. Let's pick, just so it really stands out, we'll pick a purple. I'll copy this. We'll go back to our client themes, go to company branding. And then if I go to docs, I think, so number 2 is primary. So we'll change the, oh, it's the wrong one. Okay, so we'll change the primary to purple and then we'll update. And the best practice is anytime you change the client theme, I'd actually go back to our client theme or native clients, go back to Now Mobile. We'll just do a clean refresh. So I'm going to delete the client theme, save this, and then put the record back in just to make sure it works. I've run into issues before where if you update the client theme, but then you don't do this refresh, it might not show up. So let's go and save this now. If I do a refresh on my mobile app, let's try logging out and logging back in. There it goes. Okay, so it looks like all it took was a log out and log back in. So most of the metadata that needs to be updated, all you have to do is just refresh your homepage, and it should update all of that. But it looks like when you do client theming, it will require a log out and log back in. Okay. And that wraps up all the things that I want to show you around mobile in-app branding. These are 4 of the most common use cases that we hear around customers. Things about like, when they're doing in-app branding, what are the things that they can control, and how do you configure that and things like that. Are there any questions in the comments that we want to pull up to?
Great session, David. There are some questions, but not related to what you're doing. It's mainly about distribution to China, but there's no questions on this topic.
Okay. No other questions. Is there any one question that we want to bring up just to?
Oh yeah, sure. I mean, I can talk about the question that was on chat. It's basically, will Quebec or Rome Now app be available in the region of China for both iOS and Android app? So just want to clarify that back in November 12th of 2020, we made the iOS app be available in China. Before that, it wasn't. Now, even if you can get the app, you can distribute to your users, but your instance is usually not located in China. It's usually outside of China. But your mobile client can be installed in China. However, for Android, because China has blocked all traffic to Google's domain, Google Play is not available, which is where our application is hosted. So this is why it's blocked. The workaround is to use mobile publishing, because mobile publishing, we give you the APK file, and you can use that to distribute with your MDM or anywhere, including in China. However, the downside of it is that push notification will not work because we are using a tool called Firebase, which is owned by Google, and of course, all push payloads will be blocked by China's firewall. So, so just something to think about if you have customers in China. And those are the only questions on chat.
Okay. No other questions. We can wrap up. Thank you everyone for joining us today. If you found this session helpful, please let us know in our post-session survey. This was a quick session for today. But if there's any other topics that you'd like us to explore in the future, we love getting feedback and making sure that our topics are relevant to you. We usually scan through the mobile community to see what are those trending topics that we can cover. Mobile in-app branding was definitely a common one for us, so that's why we wanted to cover this week. But if there's any other topics, let us know in the survey. If you're interested in any of our other past mobile app academies, we do record these and upload them to YouTube. If you're super new to Now Mobile and you're actually trying to learn how to configure the fields, your applets or your approvals or catalogs, we've done all those in past sessions already, and they're all available on our community site and YouTube playlist. So make sure to subscribe to our mobile community forum, register to our Mobile App Academy series so that you can get the latest notifications on upcoming sessions. With all of that said, thank you all for joining us today, and we hope to see you again in 2 weeks at our next Mobile App Academy. Thanks, everyone.